Hello, my name is Courtney Weatherman, and I'm enrolled in EDVL 3338. And we were assigned to read the book 50 Strategies for Teaching ESL Learners, and then we were assigned 2 strategies to work on, and I got 6 and 43. And the two of the strategies are cooperative learning groups is one of them, and the other one was tutorial learning. So I'm going to start with cooperative learning groups, and I'm going to give a brief description on what this is and what it looks like in the classroom. And then later on, we'll go on to how to embed it into the classroom. But a brief description is cooperative learning is most successful when all members in the group are participating and cooperating. How this works is once the students have read a story, they will work on an assignment in groups. The group is structured so that each student will have a role in the assignment. The activity must have embedded team bonding for the groups. Not to mention, it works best when the assignments are open-ended and leave room for discussion amongst the groups. The fact that the groups must work together to solve a problem will not only heighten their academic learning, but also their social skills. And that's a huge part of it. Because whenever you work in groups, we all know that you won't always disagree. You won't always agree with somebody necessarily, but to be able to get past your disagreements, that's huge in life and social skills. So that's another bonus with cooperative learning groups. I'm going to go into step-by-step how different ways you can implement this into your classroom and the steps you need to do to make sure that it works effectively. So the first step is assign groups and build a team. The classroom needs to be divided amongst different cooperative groups. Each group needs to have a team building activity. So a team building activity is something where you get to know the group members. And once you have that bond formed in a group, you will work so much better because you will have a level of respect for one another, which is huge. And then the second is assign roles within the group. So that's each member in the group will need to be responsible for one role. The roles could be assigned via cards or another form. This strategy is mainly to prevent those students who like to slack off and assume that another group member will do all the work. And what I mean by cards is, say, for example, in a science experiment, a teacher can pass out cards and assign each member in the group a role. One could be the timekeeper, the one who makes sure that everybody is moving at a good pace. One could be a team leader, making sure that everybody is staying on task. The other could be the scribe, which is the person who writes down all their data and records it all for them. So when each member in the group is assigned a role, they are way more engaged and have less of an opportunity to slack off. Next one to be intervene to ensure full participation. This looks like the teacher walking around and monitoring the classroom. And as teachers, we cannot be shy to jump into a group when they're having a discussion and be like, why do you think that? Tell me more. Just act very excited, very lively, and just be happy that they're all participating. And for the students that you're monitoring and walking around the room and they're not participating, make sure you remind them, this is cooperative learning. I do want to see what you know. It's not fair when the rest of your group is working, but you're not, and so forth and so on. And just kind of let them know what you're doing. Report back to the class. So this needs to take place at the end of the lesson. It allows the students the time to report back to the class their findings and solutions. So this is where they share out what all they learned during their group time. To kind of go off of that, the last step-by-step is to debrief and examine the group projects. So students complete a group report over their process and tell how they all work together. This is huge because kids are not shy to call out another student. So you'll learn a lot whenever you have a little rubric, as I would say, towards the end. And not only is it to evaluate your group members, but it's also a way for students to evaluate themselves and see how they did. So I think that's really important to cooperative learning group is make sure you hold them accountable. And then what is the purpose of all this? The purpose provides opportunities for students to express themselves in the classroom and work on the key principle, respect for one another. Allow students to present their work orally, visually, and sometimes theatrically. Allows bonding to take place and collaboration of ideas to gain new perspectives on the curriculum. I love that because this forces students not to be so closed-minded, because when they have other people's opinions coming through, they get kind of another version, I would say, on the curriculum, and that's huge. It's huge. Once again, the source I got this from was 50 Strategies for Teaching ESL. And then kind of just show you in a graphic organizer and visual what this looks like. So this is an example of one that I would do if there was a reading assignment. You could assign each of the students to a role. So one student could be working on the setting, one could be working on the problem, the other the solution. Just assign them the roles, and at the very end, kind of have them share out and collaborate and fix any changes that they think need to be fixed. And as I said earlier, it's huge and important to make sure that they all respect one another, mainly whenever they worked in groups. And the way to do that is to have them bond. So the team building spinner is one I thought was really cool. The students spin, and whichever one it lands on, they would have to answer the question. So an example of a question would be, what do you want to do when you grow up? And then they would share out, and then they would move on to the next person, so forth and so on. And then, as I was mentioning, they need to evaluate themselves at the end. So this is a cooperative learning self-evaluation. And it says, briefly describe your contribution to the cooperative learning project. How could your team work together more effectively next time? And then what does this all look like? I love this visual. It's students you can see all working together. They're working on a poster, it looks like, and you can see all the students are standing up and they're all actively engaged, which is awesome. This is what it should look like. And at the very bottom, I put another graphic organizer up there. This kind of goes back to the card idea that I was saying, where you could assign the students a role. One of them is the timekeeper. So that's somebody who makes sure that everybody is just moving on pace and going as they should. One you'll see is the scribe, so the reporter, So the reporter just shares the summary, what they learned. And then you have the team leader, making sure everybody's on task. Kids love getting assigned a role because they love the responsibility and they love fulfilling it at the end. It's so rewarding for them. And this is just an awesome strategy overall, cooperative learning, to just build the students' confidence. And just, like I said, again, make them more open-minded. So I for sure love the strategy. Being out my field placement, this is a strategy that we use a lot. My mentor teacher loves group work, and I love it too, because there's such a difference when they're working individually on a math problem at their desk, and then when they're doing think, pair, share and working in their groups. I just feel like there's a lot more learning going on when they're all collaborating. And they love to talk. Fifth graders will talk. So that's one. The second one I want to touch base on with you is the tutorial strategy. In parentheses, I put closing the achievement gap. So that's the overall goal that you want to take with tutorial strategy. All right, so a brief description again is this takes place at the end of the school day, and the teacher works with the students in order to reach academic success in different content areas. The base of this model is that all students are capable of learning, and some just need more time on implementing different strategies. Tutorials are used to make sure all students reach standards. We as teachers know that all students are more than capable of passing. It is up to us to make sure they don't fail. So step by step, again, what this kind of looks like. One is plan time for tutorials during the school day. I know that's a really hard concept for teachers to wrap their mind around, because they're thinking, oh my God, our schedule is go, go, go. How do you expect me to take 30 minutes on my day to teach certain students? What my mentor teacher does, which I think is awesome, during reading, we have what's called wrap groups. So for 30 minutes before the reading, she'll work with like 3 to 4 students, and I'll work with 3 to 4 students that are struggling and at risk. And we just listen to them read. We give them strategies on how to become a better reader. And for math, we do the same. We take 30 minutes of station time, and we work with the kids who need a little bit of extra time in practice. So that's how we implement the 30 minutes, and it's key in this process, a tutorial. You need to put the time in. The next one is use assessment and observations to identify students who will benefit from tutorials. So that's your job as a teacher, to kind of keep track on the student progress and see which students are slacking and falling behind. And not only that, but kind of keep data on what they're doing, because you want to see where are they going wrong, what are they missing, and how could I fulfill that for them. So that's another big key to this. And then assess frequently to ensure mastery. I love this one because at the end of your tutorial, you're always going to do a post-assessment and see where the students are at. For example, if little Sophia is working on a math problem and you're doing adding fractions, and you look and you see, oh, she forgot to do least common multiple. And you know something so simple and you know she knows how to do it. Well, you have her right in front of you. You can just make the correction right there with her. And you can go over least common multiple again. So you kind of just have it as a guide to help you. And if they're doing awesome, then you know, great, they got this, they're ready to move on to the next level. So continue to schedule tutorials until students are meeting standards. These all fall together. If they're not getting the point, you need to know as a teacher, go back and reteach it. We have to make sure that they get every little detail in order to gain mastery of the subject and they can move on to other subjects. So that's huge as well. The main purpose of this is to reach out to students who may be struggling and need the extra time with the teacher to truly understand the curriculum. The strategy requires outside time from the classroom or set aside time in the classroom, but when put in place, tutorial strategy is very effective. Once again, I got the source from 50 Strategies for Teaching ESL, and a little example on how I would implement this in my classroom is this is a graphic organizer for a math worksheet. It's something you can do after school or during, like I said, a math group with your students. It has has a question, in the center. And then each box says, like, what do I know? Draw a picture. What operations will I use? And then check it. And they will put their final answer in the box. So just a great way to make sure they're double checking. They're knowing what method they're going to use. They're writing down the steps so they're not just rushing through it. And it also gives you an idea of where they're going wrong. Or if they're doing right, saying awesome and giving them praise and academic feedback for doing awesome. And then the very bottom is just kind of a visual of what this should look like. You see a teacher working one-on-one with a student. She's very happy, saying like, yay, good job, Caroline, you got this. I love this picture because you can just tell the student is just actively engaged and her confidence is just shooting up, and that is what we want. Overall, all these strategies are implemented just to make sure the students feel successful and they gain the confidence they need for life. And I love the teacher too. She's very happy, and we're happy when students achieve. So those are just two of the strategies. They're all awesome. You probably need a chance to read it. It's amazing, the book. And yeah, that's it. Thank y'all.